This is how you become your boss's go-to person when it comes to reports. Let me share with you a journey that started when my manager asked me to create a sales report featuring the monthly sales trend, growth percentage, and sales target information. I aim to streamline the visuals and enhance the storytelling aspect. And today I'm going to share with you what you need to do to create this beautiful line chart visual using only Power BI native features. If you'd like to follow along, you can download the dataset from the link in the description box below. The process begins by incorporating the KPIs into the visual. I started with the year-over-year growth percentage. To calculate this, I created a measure that compares sales from the same period for the selected year to the previous year, rather than the average of this year's sale versus last year's sales. I calculated it this way because the current year is not yet complete. So, if you want to report the growth on the same period, here's what you need to do. Define the next variables. The first day of the previous year in your date table, the maximum date in your date table for the selected year, or if the current year is not finished, use today's date, the previous year's sales, and the selected year's sales. And finally, use the divide function to get the result. Using this year-over-year measure, I created a title measure that looks like this. I define a variable for a negative percentage, one for a positive percentage, and one for when there is no data for the previous year. Then, using the switch function, I generated a dynamic result. Quick tip: for measures used in titles, you need to format the number as text using the format function, otherwise the result will not display correctly. Now let's get back to our visual, and in the format pane, go to title, click on FX, select field value, and then select the title measure. Choose your preferred font size and weight. For the background color, I'll select a custom color, a dark gray, and for the font color, a lighter blue. You can use whatever color you like or fits with your company color scheme. Now, what else can we incorporate into this visual? We could add the total number of months when the sales target was met. For this, I created a measure that calculates the distinct instances of a month where total sale exceed the target for the selected year. But how did I calculate the sales target, you might ask? In this dataset, there is a table that contains the daily target and the year. This allows me to calculate the target to date rather than per year. Here's how my measure looks like. A variable that counts the rows in the date table where the year is equal to the selected year in the slicer and the day is a working day. A second variable that calculates the minimum daily target in the sales target table where the year is equal to the year selected in the slicer. And the result is calculated by multiplying the two of them. Now that we have both these measures, we need to build a subtitle measure which looks like this. First variable is used when the target was met, and the second variable is used when the target was never met. Just like with the title measure, the result is obtained using the switch function. If the target was never met, meaning the result of the measure is blank, the second variable is used. Otherwise, the first variable is used. Now back to the visual. In the format pane, we select the newly created measure and make all the changes the same way we did with the title. Let's put these changes to the test. It looks good, but what else can we do? There are a couple of ways we can add even more information to this visual, which I will expand on once we change the style of the visual. But first, do me a favor and drop a comment with suggestions for other visuals you'd like me to transform. Back to the task in hand, let's play a bit with how the axis values look like. And we can change the color of the values for both axes to black, the font and the weight. And to make things more interesting, I like to switch the y-axis position to the right. Now, looking at the visual, I notice something that I don't like. The y-axis values are inconsistent. Sometimes they're formatted in thousands, sometimes in millions. Let me show you what you can do to address this issue. First, we need a measure that calculates the maximum sales value for any given month irrelevant of the selected year and return a result that is 10% higher than the actual sales. Then we need one for the minimum value, and that is for 90% of the actual minimum sales per month. Now head to the format pane and in the range section of the y-axis select the appropriate measure for both minimum and maximum. Now you see the values remain the same even if we select a different year. It looks a lot better. What next? Well, we can play with the grid lines, and I usually like to use the solid line style for them. As for the line itself, this blue is a bit too generic for me, so I will go with something a bit darker. Then I like to change the line type to smooth and the smooth type to cardinal and set the tension to 40%. And the final touch for the line is to set the shade area transparency to 70. Next, we need to change the styling of the visual, and for that let's move to the style and position, and we will add a visual border for which the color will be white and around the corners set to 10 pixels. Let's turn on the shade, and if you want you can customize it by selecting the custom position. I like to go with size 1, blur 5, angle 45, distance 2, a transparency 70. It already looks better, giving it a nap-like modern look. We could settle with this, right? Yes, we could, but we're not stopping here. I promise to provide more ways to enhance the story, and one way to do that is by adding dynamic markers that indicate if the target was met in a specific month, just like here. So, head over to the format pane, turn on the markers and... oh! We can't choose the formatting. That is right. For now you can only have one fixed color for the markers, not the dynamic one. But fear not, I have a solution for this, and it might be a bit unconventional. Begin by changing this visual to a clustered column type one. And here we can change the column colors using measures. We can use this measure that changes the color to green if the target was met and red if the target was not met. Now, believe it or not, all you need to do is convert the visual back to an area chart. And boom, there you have it, our dynamic markers. But how can we make sure it's clear what green and red mean? Well, again, the solution is a bit out of the box, but it works. We can use the title for the x-axis for that, just like this. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? And it's packed with information. But there's still more we can do to enhance the story. We could find a way to add the monthly growth percentage. And for that we will use the tooltips. Let's add the year-over-year percentage measure to the visual tooltips and rename the total sales. Next, in the properties under tooltips options, we can change the color for the label, for the text and the background color to match the one for the title. Play a bit with the font size and there it is. This single visual, rich with the information, replaces multiple simpler visuals, saving space and resources in your report. By following these steps, you can create a visually appealing and data-packed report that enhances storytelling and meets your manager's expectations. But all of this could have not been possible without the proper data set. And if you would like to know what it took to clean this particular one, then you need to watch this video. If you found this tutorial useful, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. This is Stellian, signing off. Until next time, cheerio!